to build up an understanding of the way my papa speaks, so that I don't break down and be Saginaw. As I watch all your faces, I see your eyes, I see your hearts, I see your energy changing in color to vibrance. I was born to a girl, a little girl of age 15. And from the very first minute of my conception, I saved my first life. I was chosen. I saved my mother's life. She was very self-destructive. My family didn't believe in sharing tradition. They felt that I needed to learn the European way, that I would be more successful, that I would change things for the better for my family. So I was robbed, yet I was blessed. And it's taken me a long time to process that element of my life. I built a career off of being this chosen one, yet I had no attachment to tradition. So I myself became self-destructive. I watched my family crumble under the shadow of alcohol. I watched the behavior of the men that were surrounded by me. And I was lost because I was in fear that I would become one of those men. And as much as I fought that, I did become one of those men. I've been given privilege beyond privilege. Like Saginaw says, Indians don't travel across great seas. And I was throwing it away because I was lost. Understanding that, that connection, that very essence of survival starts when you're ready to let go and accept that you are not in charge. When you surrender your spirit to that of that higher power that rises above. It's the most complicated thing is to manage the pressures, because our lives are complicated. My papa has made so many sacrifices so that I don't have to live the life that he lived. He traded a commitment, not to this country, but to the very essence and nature of our people, so that I wouldn't have to suffer that same path. I was lost, and I asked God to help me. And I love his story about the man that came to him, because when I was lost, that's the man that came to me. He saved me. We had been friends for 5 years. We were colleagues. We met auditioning. We were actors. The very essence of that business is the product of the system. And it is very difficult, if you're not of sound sight and mind, to not get lost in the ideas of the very elements that are created within your mind to control you. Ego. Ego is a very, very, very powerful demon. Ego changes every thought and choice that you make. When you are able to step out of that shell of ego, you are one step closer to finding the very essence of yourself. I was lost. And Papa saved me. But not because I asked, because it's not something you can ask for. You have to be willing to make that change. You have to be willing to accept that there's a power greater than you. I was chosen to carry this. I was given a vision to carry this beautiful message. And as Saginaw was sent to a tree for 4 months, oh, thank you, don't Like, he didn't send me to a tree for 4 months. He sent me in an airplane for 28 hours. I don't know. Sometimes I want the tree, considering how many airports I have to go through, and how many different cultures that we, the manufacturing of what we do and how we can get here to do it. That's that tree. But the reality is that when I looked into my soul, and as I did this work with him, I was still not clear because I was robbed of my tradition. And I just say, God sent that message to Saginaw. Because 3 years ago, Saginaw said, Rick, I want you to come to powwow. And from that very day, I knew that he was going to teach me. I never had a relationship with my grandfather. I never went in a car with my grandfather. I never took a trip with my grandfather. I never even had a conversation with my grandfather. And I watched him fade away. So what I say today with that is that it's never too late to identify with the fact that you need to connect. It's never too late to become a student once over. It's never too late to accept that you do not know what you think you thought you knew, and that it's time to start over. So, as each of you decide at what point or where you are in your life, you're allowed to go back and become a child again. Because if you are reborn and you can find who you are, my mom says that you are then now touching the hand of God. How does that work with us? How does that work in our lives with our pressures and our responsibilities? And how do you make sense out of a painful past to create a positive future? You accept that you've been blessed and chosen, and every one of you have been chosen, or else you wouldn't be sitting here. Every one of you want to touch the hand of God. And you all can. You got to start from scratch. And it takes work. God is not giving out hands for free. So you can't say, I know who I am now, and I'm touching the hand of God. It doesn't work that way. If that's the case, we could go to the department store, we'll go on the God aisle, and we're gonna buy ourselves a box of God, and some God milk, and I'm gonna have, I'm touching the hand of God, and it's not like that. It's about identifying who you are and where you are in your life, and accepting that you may have had problems in the past, but they're in the past. They don't live in the future for you, and they certainly shouldn't be living in your head. They are in the past. So I had to accept a lot of things. I never met my father. Men scare me, but that's in the past. I'm not going to sit on this. Watching my family destroy themselves is in the past. Many of us have experiences that we carry with us every day, night and day. We sleep on them, we live with them, we put them in our pockets, we take them out of our pockets every time we feel like somebody is doing us wrong. You want to place the blame on someone instead of taking responsibility for your part. Responsibility. These are some key words Saginaw talked about in the importance of language. One of those words, responsibility, is yours. No one owns it. No one owns where you are and how you exist. You do. When you accept the fact that you're willing to take responsibility for the decisions you've made, you've started your journey. When you're willing to take responsibility for where you are in your life, you have taken your first step. When you cease to blame and hold others responsible for where you are, you have taken your first step. Language is important. The the words we use, hope, luck. There's a few more that drive me crazy. Because every one of those words sets you up for the idea that you will fail. I don't use these type of words. The intention you set and the desires you want, and they manifest on only you. So, luck and hope are relevant terms to me. If I want something, I do it. I don't hope it happens. If you hope, then you're hoping that someone else is going to give it to you. And then it's not you. It's not you. It's very complicated in your eyes sometimes to manage and balance responsibility. But it's very possible that, you know, like I said, when you accept that there's a power greater than you, it's much easier to turn to that light and say, guide me, please. Guide me to understand what I'm going to be responsible for.